We are live. Now I'm on here to answer some questions about calisthenics. Now that's a very broad topic, but a question that has been recurring is, yo, Irvin, real quick, answer me this. Can I train the same muscle group every day? Can I do that? Is the sun behind me? Yeah, it is. I'm gonna let it go. The question is, Irvin, can I do calisthenics? Can I work out every day? Now, just because you can do something, does that mean you should actually do it? Yeah, we about to shoot a video too. Just because you can do something, should you actually do it? Now, when it comes down to the frequency of training, it all depends. Well, it all depends on intensity. So, as a complete beginner, now I want to point out the fact that me and Bam just did this pull-up routine, that the one that me, Zeph, and him did. It's on my YouTube. Uh, we did that routine, and the intensity of that routine, oh my gosh, my arms, my back, everything is on fire. My legs, well, that's from leg day, everything is on fire because that was high intense training. Now I definitely wouldn't do that every single day, given the fact that I haven't trained in a while, well, that specific movement for a while. I'm going to get to y'all questions in a second too. So you want to be very particular. That's why having a structure, having a program is essential. You want to be very particular in how you approach your training. If you're overtraining and not giving your body enough time to recover, game over. You're not going to be in it for the long term. You will be doing more damage than good. You get in pain in your elbows, tendonitis, golfer's elbow, tennis elbow. You don't want that. You want to be in this for the long run. So that's why being very, very, very particular in the training approach that you have, it's very important. Now I'm going to answer some questions here. That is why I'm here, but I will answer the main question that I got in here for. How long does it take to build to do muscle ups? It depends. It depends on, number one, if you've never worked out before and you decide to come in and try and do a muscle up, it's not going to work out for you, right? It's probably not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. Someone who's been training, they have a base level of strength. Um, they're more of a functional person. Let's say they did martial arts, so they're more functional. They know how to work through movement patterns. It might take them a couple of tries. It could take them one time. They get the technique and then they get it. So the muscle up is more of a skill dependent movement than a strength dependent movement. You don't have to be phenomenally strong in order to perform a muscle up. It's more about the technique, understanding the biomechanics, movement patterns that you have to go through. So questions like that, it always depends. It will always depend on the individual, your fitness level, all these factors. Do you have a hard time learning? All these things is what you have to take into consideration. But I'll give you a general number. Let's say you practice daily for a month. If you practice daily for a month, whether you're a complete beginner or you're more seasoned, you can expect to make some sort of progress. So I would say consistent training for a month. Irv, where can I get that sick tank, bro? Is right below the video. Right below the video on my channel is just a warm up. You look under any video that I have, you could grab one. It's always a warm up. Y'all know the vibes. It's always a warm up. So answering the question, how often can I train, especially doing calisthenics? Now, in comparison to weightlifting, if you're doing weightlifting, there's far more resistance that you're pushing on a consistent basis when you're doing the sheer amount of volume that you're putting on your muscles is way more than just doing a basic body weight push up. So granted, you've trained consistently for 6 months. You could literally work out every day if you want to. Now, obviously, if the intensity increases, if you go from just doing body weight push-ups to putting on a 50-pound vest and then doing, let's say you're doing with just body weight 25 push-ups every day, and then now you decide, hey, I'm going to put my feet on an elevated surface. I'm going to put a 50-pound weighted vest on, and then I'm going to do 100 push-ups instead. Chances are you're not going to be able to do that every single day. The amount of intensity, that resistance that you're putting on your muscles, they need more time to recover. So all you have to think about every time you're training, hey, this, if I'm sore, should I continue to do this every single day? Being sore is a good indication that you've overworked yourself to a degree. So why do you feel sore? The pulling, the tearing of the muscles. It's exercise induced injury. When you're working out, when you're pulling muscles, when you're doing pull-ups and muscle ups, squats, and you're damaging those muscles, that is exercise induced injury. So you're injuring yourself, not on purpose. I mean, it's not something like you're jumping off a 10-foot building and then like landing on the worst possible angle on your ankle. No, it's purposeful and controlled injury. And then you have to give, just like any other injury, even if it was a sudden onset injury, like I just mentioned, you jump and then you sprain your ankle, you're going to want to go through protocol that allows you to recover completely before you try and go and do anything else. It's the same thing when it comes down to calisthenics, any sort of training, but we're talking specifically about calisthenics. If you're sore, you want to give yourself a little bit of time to recover. Now, if the rate of breakdown of the muscles passes that of rebuilding, you're going to be in a bad spot. Now, it makes it worse when you're not focusing on your nutrition. You don't go through, protocol of like stretching, biohacking stuff, cold showers, cryotherapy, things like that. If you're not doing anything and then you just go right back into working out, long term, you're going to be in trouble. That's just the bottom line. You will be in trouble. And like I said, it's always about being present and remembering, hey, I'm doing this for the long run. I'm going to scroll back up and look at some questions. How do you heal lower back issues? The video I just posted on my Instagram, go and look at that video, or go to type up in my search on my channel, the problem with calisthenics, and I believe structural balance is the name of it. So go and watch that video. I do talk about that. Now, obviously, I just want to give a little bit more insight there. There could be a plethora of issues that is causing that. So automatically, straight off the bat, I can't just say, "Oh, this is what you should do. This is it." Now, given if you got an injury from squatting too heavy, it's going to be a different approach of recovery than just something that's been progressive as far as like sitting down for hours every day, for days on end. That's going to be a different type of approach as far as getting your back pain to be rebounded. So if you're like, hey, I squatted heavy one time and boom, that was it. It was just immediate. It could be a herniated disc, all these type of things, which would be a common thing. Now, with sitting down for too long, it could be that adaptive shortening. Muscles are becoming tightened, like your hip flexors, and the back is relaxing. Your hips are tightening up, and it's just causing a world of problems. That takes depends on the extent of it, but it can take a longer, more specified and intentional approach to recover that, because it's something that you've kind of trained your body into, and now you have to find your way to train your body out of it. So let's see, what else do we have here? The shirt, yo, everybody who wants the shirt, you'll find it under any video on my YouTube. Just go to my YouTube videos, and any video you will see the tank under there. Okay, calisthenics saves money. That's a fact. It saves money, and if you have money to save, you could buy one of these tanks, right? And just remind people it's always a warm up. What's your thoughts about greasing the Grove? Give me some more clarification on that. My lower back is weak. Calisthenics is more focused on upper back. No, no. It's all about your approach, understanding. That's why having a general and basic understanding of your anatomy in conjunction with biomechanics and physiology, all these things. You don't have to be, ultra educated on it. It's like there's tons of books. I could recommend some books to you guys. I have a load of books that I read. And you could just, when you have the time, focus on the things that you're actually looking to learn about. So you don't have to read the whole book. I like to read the whole book, but you don't have to read the whole book. All you have to do, lower back, exercises for blah, 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 and learn about that, understanding that. And you can see what body weight movements. A good one that I like to do is like reverse, what is it called? Reverse glute raises, where you're like lying on the bench and then you're hyperextending, you're creating flexion in your lower back by raising your glutes in the air. So there's so many different exercises when you understand how your body moves, and what levers and what bones and joint angle and all that stuff, and then you learn how to manipulate your body going in a certain direction to engage specific muscles. So calisthenics is not, no, it's not really just focused on upper back. But I get what you mean. I get what you mean. It's like just the basic exercises that you think to perform if you're not really aware of, like I said, the biomechanics and anatomy and how they come together. You're like, okay, if I move my leg like this, then this muscle's being activated, and then that leads to blah blah blah. Because a lot of the times, like I was explaining in one of my recent videos, is like with the golfer's elbow, is just because it's the pain in the elbow is not necessarily, that's not the origin of the pain. You know, it could be the shoulder, it could be the forearm. There's so many different things to take into account before just saying, oh, this is what it is, and then considering it law. There's so much things to consider. You answered it, my bro. Okay, cool, cool, cool. My lower back is weak. Yeah, so bro, hit me up on YouTube, on Instagram, and I'll give you more insight about the lower back thing, right? It's safe to do 100 push-ups every day. Yeah, I literally, so you watch back this video about like 3 minutes in, I explain about like how what will determine if it's safe to do a specific exercise or muscle group every day. And in short, intensity and frequency. That's what you have to think about. Intensity, the more intense, the less frequent. See what else we have here. What's the key to handstand for heavier, more muscle person, and how long would it take? Well, once again, all these questions, there's so many variables and factors to consider. There's no golden rule. I just want to, I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but I just want you to know, I could say, oh, it will take a month. And then for one person, it could take a week. And then another person, it takes 3 years, you know? So, generally speaking, every movement you want to break down into its simplest form. Every movement. Let's say you can't do a push up. Oh, I can't do a push up. What is it? Let me inspect. Let me look at what's going on with my push up. Is it that my shoulders are weak? Is it that my chest is weak? Is it that my hips are sagging? You have to dissect the movement into its most basic structure. Now, let's say for the sake of simplicity, you can't do a push up properly because your hips, they have a problem staying nice and level. They're always sagging. Now think about it. Oh, okay, a moving plank. A push up is a moving. If I can strengthen my core, engage my core muscles more, that will give me a nice, instead of a dip in my hips, it will give me a nice firm hollow shape. Okay, let me strengthen my core. Let me do isometrics. Let me do planks. Let me do dynamic planks. Let me do, things that focus on the hip flexors, things that focus on the TFL, tensor fasciae lata, those muscles here. It's like, okay, that's weak. Or my glutes, I need to work on engaging my glutes and my hamstrings, so I need to be working more legs. All these things you have to take into consideration. That is why having a program is so important, because even me, this is what I do, but at the same time, I might do one exercise on Monday and then forget to do it for 3 weeks after that if I didn't write it down. So it's like, okay, that muscle group or that specific skill is not getting enough focus because I'm not giving it enough frequency. So doing a handstand comes down to understanding the most basic structure of the movement, analyzing, okay, is it my wrists are weak, I need to work on doing more wrist mobility. Oh, my shoulders can't hold my weight. I have a strong core, but my shoulders, when I put my shoulders up, it gives out. You got to think about, okay, I need to focus on working my front delts, my rear delt, everything, building those shoulders, those boulder shoulders, right? You want to make sure that you're doing those. What actually builds strength? Okay, let me do more isometric and negative movements. So it comes down, you're just breaking it down bit by bit by bit by bit. Okay, my shoulders are weak. They have endurance, but they don't have that strength. What do I need to do specifically? The said principle, that's specific adaptations to impose demands. So it's like what you what you train for is like, okay, if I train for endurance, my endurance will increase. So I need to make sure that I'm training in that style, which it comes down to my rest period, my rep range. All those things are essential in ensuring that you do achieve that goal. So as far as the handstand, I will be doing. I have a handstand tutorial that I just haven't edited yet for months. I just need to do that. Thanks for my. Let me see. I'm trying to scroll back up. Appreciate the knowledge, bro. Yo, that's what I'm here for. Health is wealth. How to split the workout for more muscle gain. I have a video on that. So look, all these videos. I know I have so many videos, so it might be hard to go and like find. But watch all the videos. Don't worry, watch all of them. You'll learn something in every video I post. But as far as splitting, every day, like when you train, when you come and train with me, Bam, you know, Scott, we do like full body every day. But what it comes down to is like having an emphasis on a specific day. So we might do full body on Monday, but focusing more so on legs on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're going to do full body again, but then now we're going to actually incorporate a little bit more horizontal pulling. And then we're going to do a little on Wednesday, we're doing full body again, but then we focus more on horizontal pushing. Okay, we're doing a full body again on Thursday, but then we're going to focus more on explosive legs. You know, so it's like that's how we train for kind of max result, but actually having a campaign and a structure. Okay, for the next 8 weeks, I want to get better at the human flag. Your training should be specific to increasing the ability of the human flag. Okay, for the next 10 weeks, I want to get the best pull up, the strongest pull up I ever got. You need to be specific in your approach and make sure, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 8 to 10 weeks. I'm going to be focusing on exercises and the style of training that will help me increase my pull up max. So those are things. It's always being very intentional and specific in your training approach. You can't just go and work out and exercise even if you're not an athlete, it's best to train like an athlete. You will always benefit no matter what. Now, I'm not talking about you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours on end, training. It's just having that structure to follow something specific that will allow you to see much greater results than just kind of I'm trying to stay in shape and jog and I'll go for a jog every morning. Like, don't get me wrong, that there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying, just because one way works doesn't mean there's not a better way. The exercising works. The better way is to actually train, have a structure. Even if you're just a stay-at-home mom or you're a desk worker, it will not affect you adversely to follow a structure. It won't. It won't. So keep that in mind. Man, we got a lot of questions here. Okay, I'm gonna go back up here. Irv, what up? What up? What up? I see OG give some advice how to increase burpee stamina. Well, I hope based on what I just explained so far, um, that would make sense. So, yo, the thanks again under any video. And what I wanted to let y'all know, I appreciate every single one of you guys who watch my videos, like 100%. And anytime it's happened, like people come up to me and they're like, yo, I thought you were going to be like an asshole or something. I'm like, what? How you see me in my video, funny, laugh, that's how I am. So I appreciate every single one of you. Like, I really appreciate y'all. I can't wait for this thing to clear up so we can start linking up again and doing all that. I appreciate all the knowledge. No problem, man. How often should we add weighted calisthenics to a workout? Once again, structure, having a campaign, following specific campaigns. My greatest gains came from incorporating body weight high volume and weighted high volume together, like having that balance of having sufficient endurance with my body weight and then increasing that by also doing endurance, like doing the same amount of repetitions and sets that I would do with the body weight. I would try and do the same thing with weighted, and I'm talking about like heavy amounts of weights. Like I did um the 50 50 50 50 routine. You can check that out. I have that on here too. 60 pounds. I had the 50-pound vest and 10-pound ankle weights, and I did like the same in 50 pull-ups, 50 inverted rows, 50 whatever. You could watch the video, and I maintained the same amount of repetitions and same amount of sets as I would do with my body weight, and that just makes you get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And of course, you progressively overload it, whether it be with additional repetitions and sets or additional weight. What I would say it's always best first to increase in volume using repetitions and sets before increasing the weight. And if you increase the weight, look, weighted calisthenics is not slapping on the heaviest thing that you can slap on. It's progressive. Even if it's 2.5 pounds, you're now doing weighted calisthenics. So don't people like to overcomplicate it. Oh my God, to do weighted calisthenics, I need to be a monster. I have to be able to do 50 pull-ups without letting go of the bar before I can put on. No, do the same amount of repetitions, put on a 2.5, put on a 5 pounds, put on a 10 pounds, and increase progressively. What will happen? You will find you will be like, oh my God, how did I get so strong so quick? So just by doing that, and I find it to be better. Well, there's really no better. It's like combining all these different factors to make an accumulation of the athlete that you are. So it's like doing the lightweight 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, doing that for a couple weeks, and then dropping the weight and then doing the same thing, you're going to be like, what in the world? I got to be on steroids. You're going to start believing that you're on steroids, right? I get why people think I'm on steroids because I'd be surprised at myself sometimes. But go ahead and follow that. Try that out. Try that out. I appreciate you. Let's see how I feel. Okay. Thoughts about bent arm, straight arm splits. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but straight arm and bent arm. I'm actually doing a video right now about straight arm strength. I'm going to save that for the video. So make sure you guys turn on that notification bell because it is major to understand straight arm compared to bent arm. Is bent arm better? Is people who are doing bent arm wasting their time? You'll find out in that video. Make comparison between Stipic, Lazar. I am from Serbia. Big salute. Okay. Because you met both of them. I only met Lazar for now. Okay, cool, cool. Shout out to the homies. Thanks for answering my question. No problem. You stay safe too. I can't straighten my hand. My hip is always bent. I don't understand that question. Are working out uh weighted calisthenics and doing your body weight moves slowly similar? Do you have same effects on body? Now, time under tension is a major component of training. Body weight or not body weight, it doesn't matter. Time under tension is major. So let's say, for example, you cannot perform a full. And by the way, y'all check out that video that I did with Doc. It was about 2 years old, where you're talking about how to increase your pull-ups. Even though we're talking about pull-ups, this applies to any exercise that you're performing. So just because we're talking about pull-ups, literally apply that to any style of training, um, and you will see increases no matter what you're doing: squats, push-ups, anything. So as far as that, uh, what I do want to make you aware of is understanding the fact that time under tension, if you're not able to just consecutively eccentric, concentric, eccentric, concentric, eccentric, concentric, if you can't do that, once you let go of the bar, stop the exercise, all effort um, um, diminishes, right? It doesn't exist anymore. But now, just by staying on that bar and holding a little bit after you reach, you're struggling on that pull up, you're shaking. Oh, my chin can't go over. Hold that, hold that, hold that. Keep holding, keep holding, keep holding. Hold for time. If you have a time limit, hold for that time limit. After doing repetitions, after performing eccentric, concentric, incorporating isometric is a major component in increasing your performance overall. Repetitions, endurance and strength, incorporating doing pull, eccentric, concentric, eccentric. Now, concentric last, and you're like, oh, drop. No, don't drop. Hold it. And if you can't hold it, drop off. Take a quick breather, shake off your arms, jump up there and hold for time. Hold for time. 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Hold for time. Hold for time. If you're like, I really can't go anymore, hold for time. And then on top of that, it's like if you can't hold in the most advanced variation, like say a pull-up, for example, if you can't hold, go into inverted row, engage those same muscle groups, or if you have bands and you can get on your knees and pull the bands, you're not pulling your entire body weight now, and because once again, when you're doing an inverted row, the closer your back gets to the ground, the more resistance you're going to experience. The higher your body comes, the more leaner your body comes, the less resistance you're going to experience. So that's why someone, like I've taught people, numerous people who have never done a pull up before to perform a pull up doing the modifications, and that's how you do it. And even after you're able to do the most advanced variation, don't forget about the basics. And I'm talking about like the basic of the basic, the inverted row, and not even the inverted row. If you have a short bar and you could use your legs to assist you with the pull up, utilize those things. Even when you're able to do 40, 50 pull-ups straight, you should still be focusing on the most simplified modifications that you can do. I hope that makes sense. Let's see what else we got here. Spitting knowledge, that's what we here for. Brain gains, man. I gotta get my brain gains shirt too. Um, I have a chest surgery 7 months ago. I'm getting stronger. I'm good on everything else, but when I activate my chest muscles, I'm in pain. So what do you recommend? Now, number one, I always recommend talking to the qualified professional. So whether it be a physical therapist, someone who is like this is what they do. You know, like I'm not gonna lie, I have a vast library of knowledge in my head, and I try and learn what I can learn. But at the end of the day, there are people who go to school to study and learn specifically those things. But based on what I do know, what I would tell you, number one, it's been 7 months. Depending on the degree, like I don't know the extent of the surgery, but you just like any, if you've never worked out before, whatever, you got to consider that right now. Like even if you were working out before, you have to consider the fact that hey, now, right now, I talk about that in my injury recovery video, talking about how the collagen fibers need to be laying and XYZ and blah blah blah, how they have to be laying parallel to the lines of force, and that's where it's fully recovered. A lot of times, people will go and jump back in and perform like they never had an injury or anything, and just begin performing high resistance, high volume, and then wonder, oh, I'm injured. How come I keep getting injured? And at a point, your body's going to be fed up. It's going to be like, look, I can't recover back to the point where I was prior to this. Like the like I said, the rate of breakdown surpasses that of recovery. So going through the basic protocol of recovery, I have a personal recovery protocol that I go through anytime. Either like right now with my arms right here, mess these up, not mess it up, but kind of overexerted it with doing the high volume pull ups after not doing it for a while. So I'm going through that protocol, nutrition, functional nutrition, biohacking, all those stuff to make sure I make a full and some recovery. So I don't just want to make a full recovery. I want to be stronger than where I was before that happened, right? So making sure that you're doing movements that engage that muscle. Like I said, I don't know. It's a pectoral. You know, I'm not sure. Was it the sternum? Was it disconnected? Was it a tear in the middle of the fiber? So I don't understand. I don't know exactly what it is, but knowing that nutrition is a major component of this. You need to make sure you're fueling your body with the appropriate nutrients to rebuild that while you're also going through the mechanical part. You know, okay, engaging the muscle at this angle, engaging it at this angle, engaging it at this angle, giving it eccentric, giving it nice and controlled eccentric movements. You know, things like that are all progressive. So and things like this, having resistance bands are very useful when coming from recovering from surgery. I did talk about this in a video, why you shouldn't do calisthenics, and then talking about how it's easier to recover when you can control specifically the amount of resistance, and the angle of which such of attack, joint angle and stuff, by utilizing whether it be weights or resistance bands. There's a time for everything. So I'm not anti weights or anything like that. It's just, if capable, obviously it's better to be able to control your body weight. It's like, even if you're weightlifting, you want to be able to control your body. I can't imagine that being a topic of debate. Like, oh, I don't care about controlling my body weight. I just want to lift heavy. That, I don't get that. That wouldn't make sense to me. But I hope that gave you some insight about that. Ooh, you got a lot of questions. You're gonna go back up here. Um, okay. How do you gain muscle and lose weight at the same time? I did a video I did a video on this, but you can't don't worry about doing it at the same time. And that's the thing. Like, don't people. This is a marathon. This is a marathon. This is never ending. Don't be so focused on, oh, I want to lose and gain at the same time. It is possible. Yes, you can be building lean muscle mass. It takes longer to build lean muscle mass than it does to burn fat. Fat will burn off quicker. Well, subcutaneous fat, which no, visceral fat, which is the fat that is very harmful for you, surrounding your heart and all your major arteries, major organs. That's the first fat that will burn off once you start to exercise. So once you begin to think about exercise, oh, I'm going to go and work out every day, visceral fat will begin to burn off. Now that's an exaggeration, but I'm just giving you the understanding of how quickly you can change your health status. So making sure, number one, just by taking a walk, going and walking around, doing some jogging, visceral fat, that fat will start to melt off. Now, subcutaneous fat, the fat that's hair, the fat that is on the epidermis, that skin layer, that takes a lot more intentional and strategic approach to burn off. Now, if your BMI, especially the leaner you get, now if your BMI is really high, you have a high percentage of body fat, focusing number one on actually performing resistance training, pushing, pulling, doing that stuff, pulling bands, burpees, things like that. Actually focusing on that first. Don't even focus on like. Here's what I would tell you. All you should focus on is building muscle. That's what your focus should be. Your focus as you begin should be just on building muscle. Now, number one, muscle is like viewed as a liability, like I like to say, because the amount of energy required to keep muscle going, the amount of calories that it takes to fuel muscle is deemed as a liability. Now, that's a good and a bad thing, right? If you are someone who you have a high body fat percentage and you're trying to burn fat, um, and fat doesn't replace muscle. They're two totally different things. As you build muscle, the muscle will begin to burn the fat. Yes, it's like the battery going low there. Uh, what was I saying? But yes, as someone who's trying to get lean or lose body fat, build muscle, do resistance training, do push-ups, do pull-ups, do high intensity training, burpees, things like that. Perform that type of exercise, and literally, and of course, focusing on nutrition. That's a given. Making sure, number one, if you're counting calories, which if you're trying to lose a good sum of weight, you should know what your caloric expenditure to intake is. That's like a given. Even if you don't continue doing it, you should understand I need to be in a caloric deficit. And you can't be in a caloric deficit one time a week, and expect to be losing fat or losing weight. Is like, oh, I'm in a deficit on Monday only, and every other day I'm in a surplus. No, you have to consistently be in a deficit, even if it's 200 calorie deficit. You need to be in a deficit in order to burn off excess fat or excess weight, whatever it is. What else do we have here? Hello, Irvin. What's going on? What's happening? Diet is key to everything. Diet is key. Diet is really key. Absolutely is. Absolutely. I told you I was in muscle and balance. Damn, a lot of questions. Are you working? Um, Let me see. They closed down the park here in Crown Heights. You were fine. Nah, bro. I don't know where there's an open park, man. I'm working out in my house, in my crib. There's no look. This calisthenics, man. I get it. I get it. If you don't have a bar, it's like it's tough. But really, anything other than that, if you don't have like the doorway pull up thing, you can still find you know, something to perform in your house as a substitute. If you don't, you should be watching my videos. I was told muscle imbalance in my shoulder will doing calisthenics help build that full strength. It has to be a specific approach. You can't just because now if you're doing a ton of push-ups, you're working your shoulder, you're working your front delts, but then if you're not working the posterior chain, what's going to happen? Like I talked about adaptive shortening, kyphosis, you're getting that tightening of the muscles. Rounded shoulder, now it's weakening the posterior, weakening that rear delt because you're not doing pulling movements, and you might get a dislocated shoulder, because like that muscle is becoming so tight, overbearing. You try and do a pull up, and then boom, you mess up your shoulder. You try and do a muscle up, forget that, game over. So making sure that you have a specific approach. This is what I stress all the time. It's not as simple as just working out. Of course, if you never worked out before and you just want to get active, good, you're getting started. But the bottom line is you should want to evolve, and a part of evolving is educating yourself, understanding I need to have a specific approach to my training, and by having that, I need to make sure that I have a program. So like I said, it doesn't have to be complex. You just want to make sure you're giving each and every muscle group, energy system, creatine phosphate, like all those different energy systems I talk about in a ton of videos. Make sure y'all watch my videos. I'm here live to actually see, as well. Okay, the questions that are being asked, a lot of them I have answered in my videos. So if you do need help finding those videos, I can send it to you. Send me a message on Instagram. Thank you for information. I was just wondering, are you into fit flips and parkour? Man, I love parkour. Parkour. Oh. Nah, but I'm very functional. I love functionality. I love, like I said, I grew up doing martial arts. I definitely want to get more into the actual parkour. But look, I'm no parkourist or whatever, but I could jump from and hop from buildings and stuff like that. You get me? Call me Spider-Man Tings, brother. Okay.